everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 tournament game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 62, and we had a very, very big climax last turn, and now we're back to just hanging out. I apologize, but it is what it is. So, there was a throne rush by Ulm. That throne rush was repulsed, and we tried to snag some land during a said throne rush. Though, in fairness, we went into it not knowing that it was going to be a throne rush. We thought it was going to be Ulm and I fighting Vanheim. So, since it was not, we had a lot of conversations with Vanheim, with Ulm, and since it was, in point of fact, not we're going to go to war with Vanheim, basically everyone has made peace. There have been concessions on some sides, but for the most part, we came out unscathed, other than the loss of a decent chunk of condors, which is unfortunate, but not the biggest deal. I think technically it's, honestly, probably close to like 50 or so gems or something like that, which is a lot, but it's not gems that we're spending actively. It's gems that we've spent over the course of time, and the condors are not that big of a deal to us anymore. They're not the greatest sacreds. They are basically there just to crack forts. So we did lose about 50 supayas as well, which is unfortunate, but not the end of the world, considering we're generating a fair amount of them each turn. And last turn we got the ultimate gateway, right? So that's going to increase our capabilities of producing supayas astronomically as soon as we actually start using it. I mentioned I've mentioned this several times in the last like 5 or so videos, but this is during a time period where I am super swamped at work and overstressed. I probably could have afforded to get a sub, but instead I powered through, and in powering through I definitely forgot, here's the thing, I didn't forget about it, I just hyper fixated on one thing about it, and that one thing is the concept of Well of Misery, right? Without being like, oh, let's go ahead and move shop over there. We will get there, I promise. It's just gonna take us longer. I think I tallied it up. I don't lose an astronomical amount of gems compared to what I, would have, but it is a frustrating amount of time. Anyways, let's go ahead and go through the turn. So kicking things off at the very beginning, we got Nazca claiming the Throne of Earth. Nice. That's us. We now have 2 thrones. Very cool. Throne of Earth is pretty nice for us. Don't particularly care about the mages, although they are better than what we have. But at this point, I say that, right? Like taking a Nature 2 and boosting it up with a Thistle Mace into a Nature 3 isn't bad, especially when you can then turn around and do what Gaia's words, brain, whatever. Shit, I can't remember the name of the fucking thing. What's it called? Isn't it? Remember what it's Gaia's something, but I'm not. Alright, this is where it's easier to just look things up on the Mod Inspector. Thanks, Mod Inspector. Because I can just type something in here, unlike in the game. Strength of Gaia, that's what it is. It's Conjuration 4, I just skipped it. My bad. Conjuration 4, there it is. So Conjuration 4, you can give one of the gnomes a Thistle Mace, give it this, right? And then it goes from being nature 3 with the Thistle Mace to nature 4 with the Strength of Gaia, which is pretty decent, right? Which is also a nice buff. And then nature 4, Earth 2 can do... Yeah, nature 4, Earth 2 can do Gaia's Blessing. You just have to spend an extra gem, right? So Gaia's Blessing is good, right? It's all of the resistances bundled into one, which is pretty decent. We have a pretty easy time of putting... I think Gaia's Blessing is really, really nice for nations that have difficulty putting up some of the resistance buffs, right? But the problem is it's enchantment 9, right? So like if we eventually get to we have no real desire, right? Like enchantment 8, mass regeneration, great, right? But we have no real desire to go to enchantment 9, not anytime soon, right? So sans the scenario of like getting really, really late game, this doesn't really matter too terribly for us because we can already put up all of the Fins or Niflheim, Muspelheim stuff pretty easily, right? So this is kind of like a luxury good. Eventually, if we get to that point, then we'll be like, yeah, fuck yeah, outfit a gnome and put a gnome in every army. Boom, there you go. The other aside though is the gnomes don't fly, right? So that is a, you know, it can be adjusted, right? Just give them, you know, flying boots of flying. But it's a having to keep them up with the rest of the armies, etc., right? So it's just it's a nice luxury scenario, but it's not like we're clamoring, right? And because we already have Mama Pacha, we have other ways that we can climb higher in nature aside from these gnomes. So it is what it is. That being said, the additional earth that we're getting, the 3 earth per turn, really nice. And the reinvigoration 1 on our troops on our sacreds is actually pretty nice as well, right? That does actually help us do things like rigor mortis plays more effectively, because we have additional reinvigoration, and we're able to put up things like relief, right? Or if we're able to put up things like relief, rather. And yeah, so this is a pretty good throne for us. It's not the best throne in the world, but I do think that it is a very positive throne for us. I'm very happy to have gotten it. So I just gushed about a throne for 5 minutes. Fuck my life. Holy shit. Let's continue onwards. This is going to be a long episode, I feel. We've got a bunch of site searching. Gnome lore found nothing. Once, twice, thrice. Voice of Apsu found nothing. Once, twice, thrice. We did some summon Wakas, which we probably should have moved to the ultimate gateway to do that. We did Nospecs, found nothing. Another 3 gnome lores. Once, twice, thrice, nothing. Beef. Voice of Apsu, nothing. Haruspecs, nothing. This is not really unexpected. It's unfortunate. I would have preferred to get lucky, but most of these places that we're site searching in, we've already site searched to like 2, and we're being frivolous, right? We're being really greedy and spending a lot of additional gems in the hopes that we get some super rare site, right? And it could happen. It just, you know, hasn't yet. So we'll see. I mean, we did get Ultimate Gateway, so that's pretty positive. I wonder, can we see what the rarity site on the Ultimate Gateway is? I'm already in the on perspective. Ultimate Gateway is a level 3 rarity, so you have to have Astral 3. So for example, right, like we would not have found the Ultimate Gateway if we just site searched with like one of our Koyas, for example, right? Would not have found it. So it does matter. It can get you really good stuff. It's just, as far as like gem efficiency goes, is probably not the best. But I think it's fun. Anyways, moving onwards. So no site searching successes. We get to see a battle in Green Coast. So this is a special monster attack. Oh, we got a horror coming at Ulm, but that's a fair amount of stuff, so I don't know that that one's gonna work. So that horror gets blasted. And then we have a single battle in Amul. And this isn't really a battle, we're just taking this back from Vanheim as part of the peace agreement that we have made. Basically, our borders are returning to normal, and Ulm is also Ulm and Vanheim have been, I don't know if spat is the right word, but kind of like spatting over what their peace agreement is going to be. And I think Ulm is going to make a few minor concessions, like they might lose a few minor provinces here or there as a punishment, I guess, for failure of the throne rush, you know, that type of situation. And I think they're also gonna potentially form an alliance, so we might have a very weird like triumvirate going on now. I'm very confused by the situation, truth be told. All I know though is I think there was an opportunity for Ulm and I to just legitimately fight Vanheim. But since Ulm decided, and no flack at Ulm or anything like that, it was a good choice. It could have worked, right? But since Ulm decided to do the throne rush, it rallied the whole world against Ulm, and then Ulm lost a lot doing it, right? Now, Ulm could still fight, I think, but it would be a bloody, long war of attrition. So I think the idea is that none of us wants to go through that, so instead we're establishing this kind of peace and turning into this very weird triumvirate scenario. But even if we do that, it can only last so long, right? Like, especially since Vanheim is at this point obviously the major partner, right? Like the primary benefactor of this situation. So we'll see how it goes. I say primary benefactor. We might be the primary benefactor of this situation because it just gives us more time. Anyways, we had that battle, and then we also have another battle because of an event in Klon. A group of knights attack the province in an attempt to take control. So, got this in a momento. Sorry, making notes. This is a whole fucking bunch of knights. Holy shit. We've got, what is this, 12 knights here? That is no joke. And we've just got our little bitty 6 PD here. This is gonna get smashed. It's funny, I've been playing a lot of Somber's Warhammer fantasy mod here lately. And I actually was just messing around with Bretonia. And I was playing a single player game, and I just got horrendous like indies all around me. Like every single province was like 12 plus knights. It was bad, and didn't matter. The fucking the shit, what are they called? The Grail Knights just did not give a shit. They would charge. I'd have like 5 of them charging into a group of like 15, 20 knights, and every single one of them would instantly kill whichever knight they charged into, and then the next turn they would all swing their swords and kill the next knights that they attacked, and they would take very little to no damage. It wasn't like a crazy aggressive bless that I had on them, and their stat line doesn't make them look crazy good. So I really don't know what's going on with them. Like they're kind of secret OP or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, it was fun. It just reminded me of that. So we get smashed in Klon, which is kind of annoying. We're going to have to take that back. So battles for the turn, we have versus Vanheim, 1 win, 0 loss, and versus Indies, 0 wins and 1 loss. So we got that going on. Nothing too terribly big. So going back into events, obviously we have this attack from the knights on Klon. Then in Omia, a priest of Odysseus, the face painted with bells. I like that title. That title is pretty neat. Has been preaching and warning people of the end of the world. People are frightened and come to the temples to seek comfort. Faith has increased and much wealth has been donated. So this is actually kind of like one of those mixed ones, right? You get a little bit of gold, you get some dominion, but you also get unrest. I think in this particular case, the amount of gold that you are getting far, far outweighs the amount of unrest that you're getting. So definitely a positive in my opinion. In the Mike Marsh, one of your commanders has caught a frog in the swamp and is keeping it as a pet. In Nazca, a magnificent statue was raised in honor of Odysseus, the face painted with bells, the evening star, guardian of the tablets of destiny. Fantastic. So we get +4 dominion, which is pretty dope, and +1 order, which is also nice. And then in Packwoods, seafarers have found a new port of call with lucrative trade. They are bringing home valuable wares, and tax gains have increased. So we gain 15 province income. That's pretty nice. Events for the turn. 1 negative, 4 positives. In Klon, we have a night attack, which is our negative. In Omia, we have Dom +1 and Unrest +11. In Nazca, we have Dom +4 and Order +1. In Packwoods, we get Income +15. We get Gold +267. And we get a frog. Oh, joy. Let's go take a look at our frog, actually. Go to province. Here's our little froggy boy. Here's our little froggy boy. I do wish that events like this that give you like frogs or foul spawn or other things like that, I wish that they had more use, right? Like or that there was something a little more involved with them, like the frog or the foul spawn. Maybe it was like a commander rather than a unit, and you could like send it out stealthy, right? Like it's a little stealthy frog boy. You could send it out on some little stealthy missions. That would be neat, right? Or that it did something, right? Like maybe this frog replicated, right? And you could just get an extra frog every turn. Or like maybe if this event happens, it's not the frog that's special, but it's the person that becomes special, and they start spawning a frog every turn. Right? Anything to make it kind of like a little more something, right? Because I think it's really neat. Because it's weird and it's cool and it's like, ooh, you got a frog. That's fun, right? But it's so incredibly inconsequential. So incredibly inconsequential. And I'm okay. This game has a lot of inconsequential things. This game has a lot of spells that are never going to see the light of day, a lot of items that are situationally irrelevant the vast majority of the time. But I think the embetterment of the game stems from the concept of making more things interesting and viable, right? And that's not to say that this should give you a powerful unit, right? No. But it would be pretty neat. Again, not really of much use, but it would be pretty neat if this mage started spawning frogs every single turn. That'd be kind of cool, right? Like, okay, that's something, right? Like maybe they can patrol. They have a patrol strength of 0.3. That's pretty horrible. Like 30 turns to get 10 patrol strength. I don't know. It'd be more interesting than something like just boom, frog, done. Like even if this frog is like maybe it's not a unit, right? Maybe it's an item, and the item is like a familiar item, like an int familiar. Basically, just turn it into like a free int familiar or something like that. Anything to make it something. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, going off the wall there, I completely forgot to. Note the time. I'm in a talkative mood, so I apologize. Aside from that, we did the battle in Klon. We got a scout discovered. We discovered a scout, etc., etc. We've completed the construction of the palisade in Mike Marsh. Very nice. We can't gain Hatenruna in Meritrand anymore. We've burned the province down, and yeah, that's that. So let's talk about what is it we are doing this turn. Well, we're back at peace, right? You can see compared to last turn, there are a couple of like attacks that Vanheim and Ulm have gone through. This is the spat that I was kind of referring to. Peace is had in our time, though. Peace is a thing. Ulm and Vanheim are not going to keep fighting it out. I have not just abandoned Ulm to the elves, because that would be pointless, right? Like, if these two were going to keep fighting, then probably at this point Vanheim would win the game, right? So that does not benefit me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. The idea of isolation, of us hunkering down and being greedy, only works insofar as the game doesn't end. And we went through that scenario with Ulm where it was like, maybe Ulm's gonna end the game. And if they do, great, right? But there's a big difference between like suddenly it's here, Ulm could end the game, versus if we let these two fight forever, Vanheim's probably gonna win, right? So, peace in our time, weird triumvirate, but not. And now the world is as such, right? We have a 2-cap Vanheim, which is very strong. We have a 3-cap Ulm, which has taken a big blow, but is still strong. I just don't know that. I think their power spike is waning, right? We have, I already mention 3-cap Pelagia, right? Super strong, but not as strong as one might think, right? Because of the changing hands and the continuous focus of the fish trying to get on land and being repelled repeatedly, they've actually taken a lot of losses. Also, Pelagia has a pretty aggressive bless, which means that their scales have not been very good. They're kind of like me, right? Like they have better scales than me, I think, but they're kind of in that boat of, they're not scaling super well. And it's just partially the West Coast. Arco, Vanarus, and Nabah have done a great job repelling them and forcing them to sustain losses, basically. And then we have Nabah, who is basically out. Yeah, they are still in the game, but they are very, very tiny. They're being devoured by Arco. And then there's Vanarus, who is also very small. And then there's Arco, who is now kind of like this rising power of the West, which is becoming an issue, and I think going to be the next focus for Vanheim, which is good for us, I guess. So, what the fuck are we going to do? We're going to do what we've been talking about doing. We've got 2 turns away from Well of Misery, right? So, we're going to use our ultimate gateway to put up Well of Misery. We've got a big bank going, and we're going to cross our fingers to hope that we actually are successful in putting it up, because slots are full. We're going to have to bounce something. Fingers crossed. So, as we prepare for that, we are continuing on the Ancient Master kind of concept. And the plan is immediately as soon as we're done with Conjuration 8, right? Then we're going to have a large death income from Well of Misery to turn into a number of things. One, Tupayas, right? But also here, specifically things like Amulets of the Dead to make our Malqui priests reanimate more. And then, just whatever the fuck else we want, right? Potentially things like Skull Mentors, right? We could definitely start pushing out a bunch of Skull Mentors so that we can spike our research faster, get up to the 1500 to 2000 range. And then if we do that, right, 15 to 20 turns actually puts us done with a whole bunch of stuff, right? So that's kind of the plan. We have seen in our kind of like tests against Vanheim that we are still behind the curve. We couldn't fight Vanheim for real even if we wanted to. We could not win a pitched battle against Vanheim. We don't have the research to. And part of that, the main part of that is because we played greedy, right? But we're lucky. We continue to play greedy. We're gonna equalize, right? We're gonna hit that scenario where 15, 20 turns from now, we're going to have most of this done, And as long as the game is not over by then, which, it seems like it's not going to be for now, but who knows? Vanheim could throne rush, Arco could throne rush. Yeah. So, that is the generalized plan. What actions are we taking that are big for this turn? Not a lot, truth be told. We are moving our Patenruna farm, factory, whatever, to Golm. We're going to go burn that down. It only makes us 38 income per turn, so it's kind of inconsequential. It does have some decent gems, but we're not going to lose that, so that's not a big deal. So we're going to move our factory over to Golm, and we're going to do something from that point. We are going to start putting a full stack of Hatenruna in every single province, because as we gear up to this point, and I say gear up, what we're likely going to have to do is, in 15 to 20 turns, we're going to have a decision. I say 15 to 20 turns. Probably 15 to 20 turns. We're going to have a decision, right? We are going to, at that point, be strong enough to do something. And the do something is going to have to, unless the state of the board changes drastically, it's going to have to target Vanheim, Ulm, or Pelagia, right? And currently, we're in this weird little triumvirate thing with Vanheim and Ulm, which means that Pelagia is the only one remaining from that scenario. So, probably a good portion of our focus is going to be, how can we deal with Pelagia after 15 turns of research and preparation, right? Big part of that is going to be our Throne of Water. Big part of that is going to be Supayas, but also a big part of that is going to be getting buffs and things that can buff underwater. Okay? So that's gonna be a lot of what we're gonna do there. And the Hatenruna thing, the whole point of that is we want to get every fucking scout in existence out of our lands. We want to patrol every freaking inch of everything that we can, because it's going to be pretty cheap for us. And we want to do that so that no one can see basically anything that we're doing. Okay, that's the idea. And then we're going to continue to Ancient Master Factory up. And this is going really well, by the way. We've got all of our diseases gone. Or almost all of our diseases gone. We're healing through things, which is pretty good. We're developing a lot of experience through here. We're actually getting close to that 100 mark on some of these Huacas, and it shows, right? Like, these things are, the extra experience pips are fucking intense. Like, this is gonna be a big deal. Especially for our Supayas, right? So it's weird. I wish you could organize. Okay, here we go. We have a couple that are actually already over 100. I should be pulling them out and putting in the new ones. But I guess I just forgot to this turn. But yeah, these things slap, right? Like 19 base defense. They're going to go up to 24 defense. That's fantastic, right? Like, these things are going to do very, very, very well. So yeah. Anyways, that is the plan. Let's talk about actual mechanics for the turn. First up, we have buildings for the turn. 1 fortress. So we have completed the structure in Mike Marsh. Now it's just time to upgrade it into a fortress and probably start recruiting. We're actually sending out a... we're sending out a Malqui priest there to primarily do some reanimation, because we want to reanimate over there to protect this territory. But also, we need to throw a temple down, and we need to probably start grabbing shamans from here eventually. So that would be a very good idea for us. I've been kind of slow on doing that because most of our focus has been in the west. So, but definitely something that I need to do. Okay. What else do we have going on? We've got some recruitment. 2 Akla, 1 Koya, 1 Hydromancer, 5 Sun Guard, and 2 Dinyashi. So, pretty typical stuff there. I don't think anything that we need to really explain, truth be told. Continuing to do Aklas for research, Koyas, just because they're probably our best combat mage aside from the Royal Malqui. And yeah, all the rest of it, just kind of filling out the ranks. Nazcan recruits for the turn. Is incorrect information. So Nazcan recruits for the turn. We have no Hatenruna, right? Because we were not able to capture Hatenruna this turn. We've got 105 Long Dead Warriors, 15 Supaya, and 1 Summon Huaka for 7 Huakas. I will say this again. I feel the pain in my soul of not immediately moving my shit over to the ultimate gateway and saving myself points. Gems, right? I should have immediately stopped. Last turn I found the ultimate gateway. I should have immediately stopped summoning Huakas with Kusi and just teleported over there and then started summoning, right? Because it would have been super cost efficient. But it just was not my focus, was not in my brain case, was not something that I was like, oh yeah, let's do this thing. And it's gonna get worse before it gets better, I promise. So I can tell you with surety that I feel that pain probably more than anyone. Special recruits, we've got we're continuing to do 1 Direwolf and 1 Dustwalker. Got that. We actually have a little contingent of Dustwalkers now. Kind of neat. So, where are they at? Yeah, we've got a little contingent of Dustwalkers here. These things are actually pretty decent. Decent is a strong word. They take buffs relatively well. It is really nice that they are such high HP, inherently pierce resistant, and have a lot of fire and poison resistance, obviously, right? And the heat aura is actually kind of useful, right? I think these guys aren't terribly bad. They don't do damage necessarily. And it's not that they can't do damage, because if you buffed them up, they'd be, hitting for 20s. But their low attack skill is just abysmal. Abysmal. But it is what it is. I think they're pretty neat. We've got rituals. Rituals for the turn. 2 Auspex, 1 Voice of Apsu, 1 Gnome Lore, and 3 Scrying Pools. We are pretty much done with site searching for water, I think. And we got Baral. I think it's just Baral. Ooh, Underhome. Oh, we can't target Underhome. Which always feels weird to me. You can't target the underwater with the water thing. You have to use the other water thing. So there's that. Instead of immediately flipping over to some other things like, I don't know, making water bracelets or things like that, we're gonna do some scrying pulls just to kind of like look around. Primarily, we're scrying in Vanheim territory and Olmish territory, just to make sure that what they're saying is happening, right? Because there is the possibility that I'm being fed misinformation, and Olm is actually trying to, I don't know, take out Vanheim, or Vanheim is actually trying to take out Olm, or whatever. We'll see, right? But mostly this is just a little bit of basic scrying. So where are we actually scrying? Remember. Yeah, we're scrying at Agartha, which is right there. Scrying at Furia and Ashdod. Okay, so, sorry, yeah, this is Ashdod, this is Agartha. It's Furia? Yeah, over here. So we're just kind of like, we're just poking around just to see, just make sure things are indeed accurate. So, anyways. Also, to identify what the fuck this throne is. Didn't he already take it? He took it. Yeah, it's the throne of knowledge, I thought. Anyways, moving on. So, I already do that? Two aspects, one voice Vapsu, one gnome lore, 3 scrying pools. Really not. My brain is not here tonight or today, y'all. It's definitely not here. And then aside from that, we're doing a little bit of forging, but not a crazy amount of forging, because we're kind of low on gems. We are doing 2 lightless lanterns, 2 water bracelets, and 1 rod of the Leper King, which is cool. And that one we will actually talk about. Rod of the Leper King is a fun little item. You don't see it very much, I think, because it diseases the person that holds it. It is very cheap. I think it's very cheap for undead commanders, right? Like commanders who don't care about disease, to increase the amount of undead that they can command. But it takes a mage turn to create. It costs 5 death gems. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that, and a lot of people who might want to do that and that the disease might not bother already have massive amounts of undead command, so it doesn't matter, right? But we are going to use it because we can add 50 to our Pachacuti, 50 undead leadership. That's another 50 supayas that we can be giving experience to, and he's not going to care about the disease necessarily. I think this is how this works. I'm not positive, but I think this is how this works. That he's not going to care about the disease because it's going to be removed and reapplied each turn. And if I am incorrect, what we can do is we can use it for a couple turns, right? Gaining the 50 additional points, the 50 additional space, leadership, and then take it off, right? And be like, oh, okay, he's gotten down to like 10 hit points, right? Take it off, get it healed the next turn, he goes back to full health, put it back on, right? So we go a couple turns of extra undead leadership, then a turn of less leadership, then back to a couple turns of undead leadership. Just min-maxing what we can do, because we can only do so much stuff right now, right? So trying to min-max exactly what we're getting, maximize what we're getting out of the things that we're doing, is just one of those little things. Is what it is. We got the Dinya Shis in here. They're just now starting to get experience, but I think they're going to be really cool. I wish I had taken magic weapons. Like, I do think I would change that. I think I've said this before, but if I went back, I would do a very different bless, period. But if I had to take almost the same bless, one of the things that I would change is I would probably get rid of Twist Fate and just deal with my initial losses, right? Because that's the whole point of Twist Fate. Twist Fate is really there to be like, save me when I don't have much, right? Like prevent my expansion parties from just dying when they land, that type of thing. And instead, I would probably take magic weapons and potentially like some MR or something like that. Because I think that could actually be pretty nice. Or maybe even like Combat Farcaster. I could see being pretty good, but I don't hear that is what to take. MR I think would be pretty decent. So that is, I think, all of the actual mechanical stuff for the turn, and we kind of talked about the board state, what's going on. This is a very weird situation. I honestly don't... I think I've talked about this previously as well, though. I honestly don't know why Vanheim hasn't just come killed me. Like, we've fucked with them enough. We've threatened them over Ashdod. We've threatened them over this, right? Like, I at the end of the day, I have to assume it's one of 3 things, right? But it could be so many things, because there's so many potential factors in a game like this, right? Like, it could be that he doesn't consider us a threat, right? Even if we're left alone and we get into the late game, doesn't consider us a threat, right? Or it could be, right, that he knows I'm putting these things up on YouTube. So the longer I put them up on YouTube, the more I get to he gets to show off, right? Maybe. Who knows, right? Or it could be that I'm just friendly and he's like, well, fuck it. I don't want to fight the person who's relatively friendly. Or it could be that, I don't know, he's rooting for me. Or it could be that any number of things, right? Like there are any number of like mixes, and none of these has to be like mutually exclusive. It could be a bunch of different things. But I honestly, it could be that he thinks it would be a problem to take me on. I'm convinced, right, that every point in this stage, or in this game, where Vanheim has, or better phrasing, there has never been a point in this game where Vanheim has not been an existential threat to us, right? That the initial war, right? Agartha, Ashdod, Vanheim. Vanheim totally could have come in and sealed the deal on us. Easy. They just didn't. When we poked them over the Ashdod thing, right? I am fully convinced that they could have just fought me and killed me. And while repelling Jotunheim and Ulm, especially, we've been there before, right? I'm convinced that they could have just done that, right? And in this instance, absolutely, they could have just been like, okay, well, you poked the bear one too many times. We're coming for you. We're gonna put Nazca in the ground. It's finally time for someone to deal with Nazca. Totally could have done it, but for whatever reason, they're not doing it. And I can only say thanks, I guess. So we're gonna take advantage of that generosity and I guess go fuck with the fishes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.